inevitable.
For the Future was quite the eventful Owl House episode. From the return of characters like King, Ida, Lilith, and of course the Collector, to Luz finally getting her own palisman and even some nice Huntlow moments sprinkled in. But what I want to focus on for this video is how this episode seemed to blatantly set up how the Collector is going to be dealt with in the series finale. A good amount of months back, I actually did a short video on how I might think the Collector would be dealt with, giving a couple examples like going back into the in-between dimension forever or having the talk no jutsu treatment with Loser King. Well, considering what happened in this episode, the latter seems extremely likely, if not borderline guaranteed at this point. So, most of the Collector's screen time is with King in this episode. Those two were damn near attached at the hip in every scene they were in, from the episode starting off via flashback to show what happened right after Luz and her friends left for the human realm, to the two of them playing games in Bonesboro that are very similar to the real adventures Luz went on in the past. Side note, while I do think King looks pretty cute wearing his little own Collector outfit, part of me was hoping we'd get a different design for him, more fitting of a time skip that lasted several months. Both Ida and Lilith got some pretty noticeable changes to their designs. Ida with shorter hair and a missing arm, Lilith's hair being even shorter than that and showing her original orange color too. With King being a Titan and all, I was kind of hoping we'd be able to get a bit of a growth spurt. Not saying he needs to be as big as the carcass of the Isles, obviously, but a bit of a design change would have been welcomed in my opinion, but I digress. After the two of them finished playing in Bonesboro with all the Isles puppets, they've returned to the Collector's new built house, which is located directly above the Titan's skull. Inside, they're greeted by Adalia Blight, who now acts as sort of a mother figure to both the Collector and King, having to clean up their quote-unquote toys, make them snacks, things like that. With the reason she's agreed to do this is in hopes of the Isles eventually becoming better than it originally was, and to prevent herself from getting turned into a doll just like every other citizen on the Isles. The two of them tune in for the night where the Collector wants King to read him a bedtime story. The story in question is about the Collector race, which confirms not only the existence of other Collectors in the past and potentially the present, but what their role is in the grand scheme of the universe. Collectors are essentially omnipotent creatures that live in the cosmos. They overlook those below them and will collect and preserve things so they never fade, which to me makes it sound like they're kind of abusing their godlike powers on those weaker than them. And the next passage further proves this by stating, "But should they try to meddle in our affairs, we'll clean the planet and scorch the air." However, the Collector we know scribbled over that last passage and rewrote it with, "But playing is more fun, make friends instead, and the others stink, boo." Right when I saw that, I figured it was going to be some kind of foreshadowing or setup for this character. Because to me, our Collector seems to be a lot like Luz, as well as another character that fits into one of the show's biggest tropes, for lack of a better word, a said trope being specific people getting ostracized by their peers or society in general for not conforming to specific societal norms or not being seen as good enough. With the show trying to instate in its own characters and even the viewing audience at home that it's okay to be different. You just gotta make sure you surround yourself with the people that love and understand you for who you are. Luz was able to do this thanks to all the awesome people she met in the Boiling Isles, and even the people on the Isles she interacted with who felt the same way she did in the past were able to get over that after meeting her. Even though Ida was a magical prodigy, her complete disregard for authority and rules implemented in the Isle society, as well as her curse, led her to becoming a wanted criminal and estranged from the rest of her family. Of course she was happy with her little found family of just King and Hootie for a bit, but if Luz never showed up, Ida and Lilith probably would still be on bad terms, or the curse would be the one controlling her instead of learning to live with it in a more peaceful manner. Villains like Belos are physical embodiments of these issues, but in the most extreme way possible. And this guy was so against other cultures' lifestyle that he was not only willing to kill his own brother to destroy it, but even do damage to his own physical form for years on end, going crazier and crazier in the process. All of these concepts can now be applied to the Collector after what we learned. It seems like our Collector's childish personality set him apart from the rest of his brethren, potentially leading him to be cast out from their society completely, or at the very least, never taken seriously by the rest of them. Just like how Luz was never taken seriously by her peers back home, and for a decent bit by her mom too. Of course, that part has definitely changed after she returned to Connecticut with her friends, even more so after Camila was able to see how Luz acted and what became her natural element during For the Future, i.e. the Isles. I feel like Luz, King, or the two of them together are going to be able to use this as a way to get the Collector calmed down and come to the side of good. It's not going to be an easy task though, King did say he can relate to the Collector in a way, but due to the wording of his statements prior to that, while the Collector was spying on him, the Collector begins to think King may not really have been his friend after all, which I'm sure stings a lot. Plus the Collector has just been through a lot more serious events in general, I'd say. He may be thousands of years old, but he's still got the mentality of an 8-year-old. I don't know if that's just the Collector DNA working like that, or if time doesn't pass properly in the in-between dimension, who knows. Regardless, this kid just wanted some company to play with for centuries and was stuck in a mirror prison for ages, even being tricked into thinking he was going to get out through Bellows, then thinking he's being manipulated by King while now being manipulated at the same time by Bellows inside Rain's body. The amount of people that are messing with this kid's mind is just going to make it really hard for him to actually trust again, which is why there will likely be some fighting going on prior to him turning over a more stable leaf. And said fighting will probably have to be done by mostly King. The Collector's magic is way too powerful for everyone else, even with Luz having String Bead now. You gotta remember, this kid pretty much soloed the entirety of the Boiling Isles and all of its residents, with the exception of a few whom he kept around for specific duties, like Odalia and formerly Terra. It has to be King, especially since Lilith revealed in this episode that Titan magic cancels out Collector magic. Plus, King being the main factor, I think would have more of an impact when it comes to in-universe history. What I mean by that is, if King and the Collector can become genuine friends with no ulterior motives from either side after everything inevitably goes back to normal, King could be seen as a hero of sorts. The only Titan in history who is actually able to come to a peaceful resolution with another Collector. Someone from a race that was actively trying to wipe out King's species. The level of maturity to be able to do that is insanely high and very worthy of respect and or praise in my opinion. I feel like that information can also open up more theory doors on what actually happened between the Collector and King's dad, as well as just the Titan race and the Collector race as a whole. It sounds to me like Collectors and Titans are just natural enemies within nature, like a snake and a mongoose for instance. So feeling threatened, the Collectors tried everything in their power to make sure their rule over the cosmos would never be in jeopardy, leading them to wipe out the Titan race with the exception of King. And possibly King's father. I say that because I'm sure most of us have been watching the show recently under the pretense that the main Boiling Isles carcass belonged to King's dad. However, some scenes at the beginning of this episode are starting to get me to question otherwise. When Luz was coming to inside the in-between dimension, a figure can be seen running on the ceiling above her, a figure that heavily resembles the likes of a Titan. With only one episode left in the show now, I highly doubt Dana and the crew would drop a bomb like this into the story just for it to be some random Titan that King has no connection to. If this guy is his father, it wouldn't surprise me. That still begs the question how this guy is even going to get out of there, or how he even got there in the first place. There's also Bellows, who is still inside Rain's puppet body as of now, still leaving the possibility of Bellows overtaking the bones of the Titan out there, which I think would be a pretty cool version of a final boss, to be honest. Imagine if Bellows got access to Titan magic by doing this too. That means the Collector wouldn't even be able to do anything to him, even if he switched sides by that point. Waiting until April is going to be rough in more ways than one. I think that just about does it for this video though. Let me know in the comments if there's any other ideas you might have related to the Collector's future role that I didn't mention, or just any other general predictions for the series finale. I would love to know your thoughts. Want to give a quick shout out to Janky Bones for the amazing artwork on this thumbnail too. Be sure to follow their socials in the description below because their art is just incredible. Of course, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out a ton. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.